2 years. That's how long I was waiting to play Kuronokiseki 2 Crimson SiN, the latest installment within the Kiseki series. But due to NISA's awkward release schedule for the series, this is a game that I have not been able to get my hands on and really delve deep into its story until now, thanks to the help of fan translations. This is a game that I had many expectations for going into it, and I can safely say that it surpassed every single one of them. It was one of the best experiences I've ever had with the Trail series by far. And because NISA announced that Kuro 1's English localization will be coming out in 2024, I thought that now was the perfect time to actually talk about it. But yeah, I don't want to waste your guys' time any more than I need to. I know why I'm here, you know why you're here, you know why I'm here. Let's talk about Kuronokiseki 2 Crimson SiN and how it's easily one of the best games in the Trail series. When it comes to talking about Crimson SiN, the way I plan to sort of split this video up is pretty simple. I'm gonna have two sections. I want to have this section be like more raw and sort of unfiltered regarding my actual thoughts about the game from a fundamental standpoint. Whereas the second half of this video will prioritize talking more in depth about spoilers, as those plot elements are what really make this game special. Also, for continuity's sake, whenever I refer back to Kuro 1, I'm not calling it Daybreak the same way I'm not calling Kuro 2 Daybreak 2. Calling the Calvert arc by Kuro is something that's just become muscle memory at this point. Deal with it. Now, to briefly summarize Kuro 2's story, the year is 1209 of the Septian calendar, just a couple of months after the ending of Kuro 1. We see Van in his office, chilling just like at the beginning of the first game. He hears a knock on his door and, going to open it thinking that it might be Agnes, he's greeted by his longtime childhood friend and romantic interest, Elaine Auclair. They speak about a recent and ongoing series of serial murders targeting both gangs and government officials alike, with the perpetrator of these serial murders being this mysterious man in a trench coat and fedora, with the ability to turn into his own variation of Grendel. While his identity is uncertain, what we do know him as is Grendel Zolga. Due to Van's involvement with the destruction of Amada in the game prior, as well as his own ability to turn into a Grendel, this makes him into the #1 person of interest for the police and the guild alike, meaning that he is in a situation where he has to uncover the true identity of Grendel Zolga, with Elaine cooperating with him outside of the guild's notice. The two eventually find and confront Grendel Zolga with help from both Agnes and Van and Elaine's other childhood friend Rune Kincaid, and drive him back with some help from SiN and Nadia. You don't understand how happy it made me seeing SiN and Nadia again after how much I came to love them from both Hajimari and the 3 and 9 book. They're some of my favorite characters in the series, and this game made them even better than they were before. SiN is like a top 20 character in the series for me after this game. I'm so serious. Shoutouts to SiN and Nadia being able to experience at least a little bit of the happiness in this game that they couldn't throughout their entire childhoods. After driving back Grendel Zolga, with Grendel Zolga disappearing and Elroy Harwood showing that he has some big plans for the rest of the game, SiN and Nadia state their reasons for being in Calvert as they're looking for something. However, after exploring the virtual space Marchen Garten after learning that it's been hijacked, Van, SiN, Nadia, and Agnes learn of information regarding Almada's legacy, with Van heading to Messeldem and Langport to uncover what the legacy is, with him leaving SiN and Nadia in charge of the office as acting Spriggans. And during their time as acting Spriggans, SiN and Nadia encounter the Garden Master, one of the main antagonists of the game, with a familiar presence to them. Now, off rip, this is already one of the most interesting Trail stories to me, for reasons that I will elaborate much more on later. For starters, this game reintroduces the act system that was present in both Cold Steel 2 and Cold Steel 4, but the way it approaches it is much similar to that of Hajimari's Cross story. The way that this works in Kuro 2 is that at the beginning of the game in Acts 1 and 2, there are two side routes per act, Side Route A and Side Route B, featuring Van's adventures in both Messeldem and Langport, with SiN and Nadia's adventures as acting Spriggans. And eventually these two stories converge in the intermission, which, by the way, is easily the best intermission of the entire series. I'll talk more about it later, but oh my god, man, that intermission is like a top 5 chapter in the series. This isn't even mentioning how the main antagonists of the game in Grendel Toga, Hardwood, as well as Garden Master pose a threat to the main cast that's unlike anything you've really seen in the series before, and really reinforces my belief that Calvert just has the best spread of antagonists across the entire series. Kuro 2 also has the most consistently great set of bonding events across the entire series. Alongside the fact that Kuro 2 places a lot of emphasis on Van's relationships, whether it be with Elaine, and the fact that the game sort of implies that Elaine really wants to get back together with Van, but due to Van wanting to sort of figure himself out and try to get all of his own internal problems resolved, he's not ready to get committed to a relationship again because of the fact that he cares for her, which I absolutely love. The game also focuses on Van's relationships with the rest of the Solutions Office, deconstructing those relationships, as well as other characters within the Solutions Office themselves, questioning their motivations, their feelings, ideals, and belief sets, alongside their own senses of identity and who they are, what paths they should follow, as well as if these paths are even right for them at all. The name of this game speaks for itself, but Kuro 2 places a lot of emphasis on the idea of SiN, but more specifically, the fact that our sins don't necessarily have to only define us, but that these sins can bring us closer to the people we care about. More on this later. Kuro 2 doesn't just have a great message, but it really does take an already spectacular cast of characters and makes them even better. This game even introduces tailing minigames like in Judgment, hacking minigames. They even introduced basketball into the series, which is crazy because my shot is so wet. Are you kidding me? And above all else, it brings back fishing, so like, screw any of what I said before, this game is an objective 10 out of 10 just off of that alone. Debate or rock. Now to speak more about the gameplay of Kuro 2, since besides the story that's probably the most important element of the game, at face value, there's not that much that's actually different between this game's gameplay and Kuro 1, but the small quality of life changes and elements that they added to this game easily make it the best gameplay loop in the entire series, even surpassing that of Hajimari. This game builds really well on the pre-established action-based combat that was established in Kuro 1, mainly through the addition of Quick Arts, which is really just the ability to cast magic outside of turn-based combat, and it makes the action-based combat that much more fluid and even more engaging than before. This isn't even mentioning the fact that the cast of characters has expanded tremendously since Kuro 1, because now you have access to a plethora of characters. This isn't the 51 total characters that will become available in the True Reverie Corridor in Hajimari, but there is a sizable cast of characters in this game, which allows you to explore a lot of different builds and options. And when it comes to the turn-based combat of the series, the turn-based combat is still the exact combat that I know the series for, but they added one major improvement to the gameplay in EX chains. These EX chains are triggered when you stun an enemy, trigger S boost, and then attack an enemy with either regular attack or a craft, which then allows you to team up with one of your party members to do a combination of attacks featuring both of your crafts. This is basically sort of the Calvert equivalent to combo crafts that were established in the Crossbell arc. But yeah, overall, the gameplay for Kuro 2 is outstanding, and that's largely in part due to the addition of the Marching Garden, which is basically also this game's equivalent to the True Reverie Corridor, mainly in the sense that it is a big sandbox for you to explore and experiment with as many characters as you really want. This was one of the things that sold me on Reverie's gameplay loop in the first place, the ability to build as many characters I want, have whatever team that I want to use, build that team to perfection, as well as build any other characters that I want however I want to build them, as every character in Kiseki typically serves their own sort of niche. And the fact that the opportunity for self-expression is so high in this game, especially considering the way that the shard system is built, allowing you to get all these different bonuses for building your characters however the way you want them, easily makes this one of the most fun games of the entire series by far. Now with all that being said, this is the point in the video where some of you are gonna jump off. Yes, this is the spoiler section of the video. I'm gonna give you guys like a couple of seconds to pause the video and just leave, if you do not want to be spoiled on very, very important plot elements regarding Kuronokiseki 2 Crimson SiN's story. Alright? Are we good? I've given you enough time just by saying all this in the first place. Okay? Alright. Kuro 2's story. Where do I begin to talk about how good this is? At the beginning of the video, I mentioned that this is one of the most interesting trail stories to me for reasons that I would explain now. For starters, the prologue of this game is, without question, the best prologue of the entire series. But not really only because of SiN and Nadia's return to the series, but because of something much bigger than that. Because of what would come to be established as Kuro 2's main gimmick. More specifically, the fact that Van and Elaine die when they fight Grendel Zolga the first time, leading to a time rewind. If you couldn't tell, this is the reason why this is one of the most interesting stories in the Trail series for me, literally just because of the fact that from the beginning of the game onwards, we are put in a situation where we know that our characters are not invincible. Van, Elaine, anyone could die at any moment in time, and you will never know when it happens. This creates a sense of urgency to reverse the situation in hand and reach the desired outcome in order for them to secure a better tomorrow, but also within the player, because at the end of the day, you don't want to see the characters you've come to be attached to die in these horrific fashions. With the threat of death ever looming, this creates a state of paranoia within the solutions office to explore every single possibility that is available to them in order to reach a better outcome. And it's this feeling of needing to explore every possibility and ask for help from unexpected places that really lends itself to the themes surrounding the Calvert arc. The idea that you need to share your burdens with other people and that help can come from unexpected places, help can come from where you least expect it to. One thing I will say is that it's very easy to mess up the notion of time travel, but the fact that every character that does die and is involved in a rewind remembers the dead end and remembers what happened to them really lends itself to the storytelling, because if they didn't remember it, it would feel like a cop-out. All the same, if they were just equipped to handle all the situations that were sent towards them, it would make the threats posed by Garden Master, Grendel Zolga, and especially Harwood in the intermission feel a lot less lethal. But the fact that this isn't the case makes this lineup of antagonists genuinely some of the most dangerous that we've ever seen in the series, because of the fact that they've literally caught bodies on our main characters from as early as the prologue of the game. And to speak more on Harwood and his role in the intermission, Harwood has easily solidified himself as the best Anguis in the entire series, because not only does he kill not just Van and the Solutions Office, but also multiple other factions that he purposefully guided onto his island. Not only does he blackmail the Solutions Office to take place in his little game, not only does he force Ren to relive her childhood trauma due to the island that they're on being the Paradise Lodge, where Ren was originally kidnapped, taken to, tortured, drugged, all that stuff, as well as many other things that I will not mention. Which, by the way, can I just mention, Ren is just so amazing. I love her so much. I could say so much about Ren, but God, this section of the game just made me love Ren even more than I already did. It really does feel like the end of her character arc, which is crazy to think about because this is a character arc that's been going on since the second game of the series. Horrifyingly enough, this isn't even the worst thing that Harwood does, because then he forces Quatre to forcibly accept an angel into his body as he booms the island, and after the dead end, he forcibly lore drops how Quatre is agender. And man, Quatre's character arc in this game is just so good. Every character's character arc is just great in this game, man. But Quatre especially really has become another top 20 favorite character in this series to me. I love him so much. The crazy part about all of this is is that we still don't know Harwood's motivation for even doing this. As far as we're concerned, he was just instigating. He was just doing it because he felt like messing with people. He's easily a top tier antagonist within the series, by far. And the crazy part is, I haven't even talked about Ix and Jolda. They're also amazing. You know, Calvard has easily the best spread of consistently really great antagonists across the entire series. Mainly because Ix and Jolda are here to represent what SiN and Nadia could have been under different circumstances. They are amazing characters, especially since they're also here to remind SiN and Nadia that they cannot escape their past, they cannot escape their sins, and that they will always live their lives trying to right their wrongs, though they themselves know this. They play very well into the theme that I mentioned at the beginning of the video, which is the fact that Crimson SiN is all about sin, the idea that our sins are something that we can't let only define us, but rather be something that pushes us to become better people, but also that we have made mistakes in the past that we need to take accountability for. This sentiment is echoed throughout all of Act 3, which is sort of the filter act of this game. And honestly, I just can't understand what's really so bad about it, mainly because of the fact that Act 3 does such a good job in showing how each of these characters are capable of succumbing to their feelings, are capable of succumbing to their own sins, reestablishing and even building on their imperfections, and puts into perspective their own negative feelings surrounding themselves. Like, the only real potential negative I can really conjure up for Act 3 is that it's very long, but even then I didn't really feel the length as someone who played the entire Trails to Azure finale in like a day. And because the content was really good, I didn't really feel the length anyway. Also, my love for Act 3 is substantiated even more by the finale and the fact that the final boss is quite literally us fighting against the literal manifestation of human sin. It's a metaphor and I love it. Now, even though this is the spoiler session, I'm not gonna say the true identity of Zolga, but the true identity of Zolga, what Zolga represents for the story, is just so amazing and ties all of Crimson SiN together. And to speak more about the final boss at large, this final boss isn't only just the best in the Trails series, this is one of the greatest boss fights I have ever experienced in my life. Like, forcing a time rewind on us is so insane, man. But even more than that, Van Arkride, you were chosen to be the GOAT. When I visualize in the mirror the man I want to become, it's Van Arkride. I love Kuronokiseki too. Like, bro, breaking the enemy S-break is so crazy. I don't think you understand how crazy that is. Van is just him certified. No other MC in the series is doing this. That's my GOAT. If you couldn't tell by how much I praised Kuronokiseki 2 throughout this video, I really loved playing through this game. This satisfied my urge and need to play a Trails game after 2 years of waiting and waiting and waiting for something to come about for this game, and it satisfied all of my expectations. I didn't say a lot of the things that I really wanted to say, some of the things that I really would have loved to say. I kind of just might have forgotten to say them, but overall, even if I did forget to say them, simply summarizing those things would not be enough to truly state my love for this game, as it's something that needs to just be experienced and be taken in full. I know not everyone watching this video is caught up with the Trails series, but this is a title to look forward to when it does get localized, whenever in the near future in like 2030. But with all that being said, I love this game. It's one of my favorites in this series, no doubt. Thank you, Nihon Falcom, for this wonderful experience. I can't thank you enough for making a series that truly resonates with me the way that Kiseki does. Thank you to the people that translated this game, that made the experience that I even had with this game possible at all. But with all that being said, thank you guys for watching.